My oh my, look at that. Everything is down. Everything is looks like it's trending down and maybe about to crash from just last week. I mean, everyone was talking about how the Nasdaq was going to the moon and Tesla was pretty much just kept going up every day. I mean, how can you not see this coming when it looks so obvious now looking back? Well, so important to keep your eye on the big picture. And even though this whole game that they're playing right now is all mind seeds and all manipulation and just pretty much you see this thing. I mean, they just brainwash you essentially. I mean, look at the way it just keep going up and up and up and up. I mean, you just get caught in the headlight and you just don't see the crash coming, even though your analysis is talking about the crash and how there's gonna be a capitulation top. For some reason, you're not playing because you just can't believe that there is gonna be a crash. Who can believe there's gonna be a crash when every day is a push game? I mean, just when you look at it minute by minute, or yeah, in the intraday chart, Apple and Tesla and Amazon were just being pushed and pushed. And the way they had this, I mean, I was so disappointed in Fibonacci. And in hindsight, obvious it's that they didn't care about Fibonacci. Even though if you line up Fibonacci, it still lines up pretty well because this candle was a correction candle. And so you can put kind of Fibonacci, and 38.2 will line up with the high from the previous high in February. But at the time when you were looking at it, when I was looking at it, I was expecting Fibonacci to hold up in the daily charts. Well, they hit the target of 1200, and look how it goes all the way to 1200 on the Nasdaq, the composite. Look at that thing just running up and up. And at this point where Fibonacci was going, I was expecting a correction right here. Right about here, I was expecting a downturn. Uh, but when it went up beyond that, I was like, wow, did they really? Okay. And then this last candle, it just went all the way above 1200. And it's so important to look at the big picture because these last two candles, essentially, in my mind, I had invalidated Fibonacci. I had invalidated my whole premise that it was gonna, turn down. I mean, this first candle where it's exceed Fibonacci, okay, yeah, let's just wait a little bit more. But then they hit it again with a huge green candle, and it wasn't even a capitulation top candle. I would love it had it been a capitulation top candle, but it's like bright and not. It's just never. Sometimes it's just not perfect. And but if you look at the big picture, if you step back and look at the big picture, at the time this was a bright green all the way up here. I mean, just what is the probability of a correction? It didn't seem good, but then it started turning down, and that's when you have to see the formation of this nice candle when it started turning down on the intraday. Let's look at the daily again. Here it is. This candle, when this candle started to turn down and below the 5-day moving average, um, you gotta anticipate that it's going to keep going. I mean, if you look at the big picture, it's so hard to do that though, to be honest. Let's look at that event again. That was this event right here. This was the top, and then yeah, I mean, at any time here when you see this, it should have triggered in your head that the market is going to turn lower at any point here. Man, if you had made the switch, if you keep your eye on the big picture and look at the candles formation and look forward, you can kind of see that at any time at this point, and in hindsight, it's so easy to see now because um, you're looking at this and it just looks like a top candle, especially if you look at Tesla. I mean, if you look at Tesla, it just this was a whole top right here where there was a in the intraday it went all the way to 537. And if you look at this carefully, in the pre-market it was 537, and so that was a capitulation top candle. And Tesla kind of connects the whole market. So when Tesla, and if you benchmark it over here, I mean, how many people can see this correction? I think this one was a lot easier to see because it was strong, but you can kind of see expect a downturn. And well, yeah, here's the correction, right? Anybody who would have expected the correction, maybe they would have had to cover, but then it gathers strength, and then this whole run up really seeded your mind that there's no correction, man. But yeah, 537, and now a downturn. Um, all I can say is this looks really bad for Tesla. I mean, technically, if you look at this for Tesla, um, it's gonna look essentially this yellow line. Let's do this real quick. Let's redraw that with the yellow, the 5-day moving average. So if you look at the 5-day moving average, this is the strongest trend line, and right now it's sitting at the 5-day moving average, but it's gonna fail. I mean, you just gotta look forward. If I'm wrong on my analysis, I'm wrong, but gotta keep. The only way you make money is to look at the big picture and to forward look. And when you write, you should expect. That's when you make the money I mean, and then if you're wrong, you have stops. You have your discipline, but you can't play without seeing especially now. I think you just gotta look at the big picture, and this big picture looks like it's going down to 250, 350, and this blue line looks like it's gonna flatten out, and they're gonna meet up somewhere. The yellow line and the blue line is gonna meet up. I don't know how. I mean, I guess I can calculate it mathematically and forward looking this, but they are gonna meet. And this silver line is probably gonna go flat. So this silver line is gonna continue. This is the 100-day moving average. So it looks like it's going flat, to be honest. No, it's still trending kind of higher, but eventually it's gonna go flat. Yeah, it's hard to draw this guy, but this to me, if I were to draw a trend suggesting how this moves, this looks like one of this. This looks something like that. And then who knows at this point what's gonna happen, but this looks like that is gonna happen. Um, so Tesla gotta have a target of a new low again. I mean that's just the big picture. And these candles looks like it's just technically so strong that the magnet is gonna bring this down. And if Tesla is going down, I think the market is gonna go down. Uh, if you look at the market right now, it's just this looks like it can bounce, but it looks like it can bounce. However, I just don't trust the bounce because it's sitting at the 50-day moving average. Um, let's just see. Let's just show why I don't trust this bounce at the 50-day moving average. It's because this event is so strong. This rubber band is stretched so far compared to any other. This guy is strong. This guy is strong, but this is super strong. All of these guys are strong, but this is super strong. So this correction is kind of weak. This correction is kind of weak. This correction is kind of weak. And this correction is strong all the way to the 50. And if you look at it, none of these guys have touched the 50-day moving average. Um, yeah, all of them only touched the 20-day moving average. The 20-day, I mean, this went below the 20-day. This touched the 50-day moving average. However, I think so many people are seeing that this 50-day moving average, and it's a potential support. So there's got to be a fight for it. There's got to be a fight for this 50-day moving average. However, I just don't feel like it's gonna hold up, and I don't know why don't feel like it's gonna hold up, but it looks to me, and you just gotta look at the big picture. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But this 5-day moving average looks to be a what I would say what it was doing during the run up. What whatever it was doing, the 5-day moving average was pretty much having support. The 5-day moving average was support on the run up. This run down looks like it's the ceiling. It looks like it's the ceiling where the next candle, let's just draw in a red candle, looks to be the ceiling. And that's just the way it feels like to me that is gonna be that's the direction of the 5-day, and technically it just feels like everything is gonna turn lower. I mean, especially this thing has flattened out. When has the 50-day ever flattened out? Looking at this in looking at this daily, when has the 50-day ever flattened out? It has never flattened out. This is the first time where it's gonna flatten out and it's gonna go down. Well, maybe not like that, but it's flattened out, and it looks like I lost my red pen, but it looks like it's gonna flatten out and then eventually downturn. So that to me looks like the way it's going to look. Yeah, this looks like I mean, big picture. I wish I so obvious in hindsight. And it's like why did you not see it? But it's one of these things where you got to months from now I got to go back in this video and look and see why did I mean in another event like this, you got to be able to remember these type of when it did happen, and then go back and look at it and say, how did you miss it? Well, you miss it because there's so much strength. I mean, there's just so much strength on the upside that it just feels like. Let me lose a lime green. There's just so much pushing. and it just mind sees you. And this candle, everything is just so strong, and this candle closed green. Eventually, you just get brainwashed into not seeing the overall picture. And if this happens again, most likely it's gonna be the same scenario. It's gonna be the push game where it's like they just continue to push, and then they continue to push, and then it's like who plays the push like that? Who it just didn't make any sense. Who just continued to buy? Why would you buy here when you could have bought here yesterday as a retail investor? Why would you buy here when you could have bought here last week or here last week? It didn't make any sense. But those were all mind seeds that the manipulator would put in your head. And there were people in Tesla that bought it all the way up to, I mean, at the top. Retail investors. I'm not talking about day traders. I'm not talking about, people who are swing traders, manipulators. I'm talking about retail investors who, in their 401k, were buying Tesla at the top. I mean, it's unbelievable. Why would you even buy it? Because they mind seed you, they trick you, and they just brainwash you. And even I got caught in the headlights. I just you get caught in the headlights, and you miss all of this downturn. I mean, all of this downturn looks like all of that you pretty much miss, or a lot of people miss. I'm sure there's better traders than me who able to have their discipline and just look at this like a robot. And I'm telling you, the robots are probably taking control. And you gotta have robots on your hands or programs to help you just keep your eye on the big picture. But this looks to me like that is the most obvious direction. The most obvious, and it feels, even though it feels like there's a bounce next week, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, this just looks the most obvious, but there obviously can be a fight at the 50 day. I mean, the 50 day is really strong. Look at that 50-day moving average. It's really strong and it's flattened out. So there's probably gonna be a fight. With more likely that scenario actually makes a lot of sense to me. So I'm gonna redo that with that scenario, to be honest. Uh, and if whichever scenario it is, um, whichever scenario it is, it's still gonna be. I'm expecting it's gonna be downturn as far as the big picture. And let's just say the blue pen, they're gonna fight for this 50-day moving average. So this blue pen is gonna stay here. So these candles, let's just use anyway, let's just use silver. So they're gonna fight for it, and it's gonna be huge swings. How big is the fight? Will it be 1 day or 2 days? It can be anything. I mean, it can be a bounce and then downturn. It can be a fight here was a big, huge candle and then downturn. Um, how far can the bounce be? It can be a pretty good bounce, but maybe not. I mean, technically, it has to stay within this trend line right here. To me, it just feels like it has to stay within that trend line. Maybe if in the intraday it'll feel like it pops it because it'll go higher. But then it's gonna go back down. So yeah, it just looks like it's gonna go down. Um, because of Tesla and the way I see that on Tesla. So I'll do another video for Amazon, but right now I want to stop this and just redigest it and look at the video again and see how it makes sense.